Have you ever wondered why a man cursed by the entire continent as a hell-born monstrosity, a man deemed completely emotionless, is the only one who dares to stand up and protect the children abandoned by the world? Geralt of Rivia, the legendary monster hunter with hair as white as snow and amber serpent eyes. But behind those illustrious feats and that burly physique lies a bitter truth. He did not choose this destiny. Rather, a brutal destiny forced him to become a killing machine. And more notably, right when the Witcher cinematic universe was at the peak of its form, a shocking behind-the-scenes incident erupted, causing Henry Cavill's portrayal of Geralt to crumble forever, dragging Season 4 of this series down into the darkest mud in Netflix history. What really happened to the greatest monster hunter on screen? Is Henry Cavill's departure the end of the White Wolf legend? Let's uncover the dark file on Geralt with SciFiNexus right now to understand why Geralt of Rivia became the lonely, gritty individual we see in the first season. We must reopen the darkest and most painful pages of his past. The White Wolf's destiny was not written with roses. It was forged from abandonment, blood, and mutagens. Geralt's journey began with a primal pain, abandonment by his parents. In the finale of Season 1, through the semi-conscious memories he experienced after being bitten by a monster, the show revealed a bitter truth about his origins. More than 95 years ago, Geralt was not a homeless orphan. His mother was actually Vicenna, a sorceress possessing magic. In this world, mages usually lose their ability to have children in exchange for power and beauty. Geralt's birth could be considered a miracle, but Vicenna heartlessly abandoned her own biological child by the roadside. The poor child was picked up and brought to the ancient fortress of Caer Morhen, known as the headquarters of the School of the Wolf Witchers. But in reality, it was one of the most brutal crucibles on the continent. At this lonely fortress nestled deep within the snowy mountains, Geralt met Vesemir, whom we already know as a young, arrogant monster hunter in the prequel anime Witcher, Nightmare of the Wolf. Having gone through the horrifying events that led to the extinction of the old generation of witchers, Vesemir was forced to shoulder a sacred responsibility: to shelter and raise the last generation of witchers, which included young Geralt. Vesemir was both a strict mentor and the ultimate spiritual father figure, who trained Geralt in everything from survival skills and swordsmanship to a predatory mindset. But to officially wear the wolf head medallion around his neck, Geralt had to step through a gateway to hell called the Trial of the Grasses. Imagine a young, underdeveloped child bound tightly to a stone table, his body injected with specially formulated mutagens and the most brutal genetic stimulants. The purpose of this experiment was to break down human biology to create a transcendent entity. The Trial of the Grasses was so merciless that the survival rate of the children never exceeded 3 out of 10. The other 7 children would die in excruciating agony as their bodies collapsed from within. But Geralt was different. Thanks to a unique physique inherited from his sorceress mother, he not only miraculously survived, but also displayed astonishing adaptability to the mutagens. The mages at Caer Morhen decided to conduct additional experimental mutations on his body. The consequence of this process completely stripped the pigment from Geralt's hair, turning it as white as snow, while granting him his signature amber serpent eyes. From then on, the legendary monster hunter, nicknamed the White Wolf, was officially born, paid for with his entire childhood and the right to be a normal human being. After leaving Kaer Morhen to roam the world, Geralt believed he could use his sword to help people. But the cruel continent immediately threw cold water on his ideals. The first major turning point took place right in Episode 1 of Season 1 in the town of Blaviken. Geralt was caught in the middle of a blood feud between the mage Stregobor and the deformed Princess Renfri, who had become a bandit leader. Upon discovering that Renfri's gang planned to massacre innocent townsfolk in the market square to force Stregobor out, Geralt made a grim decision. He single-handedly intercepted and slaughtered the entire criminal gang right in the marketplace, including delivering the final blow to Renfri himself to prevent a catastrophe. But the public did not understand. They did not see Renfri's plot. For a massacre, they only saw an outsider, a mutant witcher, killing frantically, with blood flowing like a river in broad daylight. Instead of being thanked as a hero, Geralt was cursed by the people and driven out of town with stones. He left with a deep scar in his heart and a gruesome title that would follow him for the rest of his life. The Butcher of Blaviken. It was this stain that shaped Geralt's subsequent philosophy of life. Do not interfere in human affairs, because the line between humans and monsters in this world is inherently very blurry. To survive and triumph over the most brutal entities on the continent, Geralt could not rely on luck alone. The harsh experiments at Kaer Morhen turned him into a perfect biological machine, possessing a comprehensive arsenal of powers ranging from physical traits and elixirs to ancient signs and supreme medieval swordsmanship. First, let's talk about the White Wolf's transcendent mutant physique. Geralt's amber serpent eyes are not just for show or intimidation. They grant him the ability to see through the pitch-black night, precisely identifying every minute movement of his prey in damp caves, combined with a sharp sense of hearing that can detect an enemy's heartbeat from dozens of meters away. Geralt possesses reflexes many times faster than an ordinary human. He can easily dodge sword strikes and even stray arrows shot from behind. Notably, the genetic mutation process restructured Geralt's immune system, making him completely resistant to all raging plagues and neutralizing deadly toxins that could bring down a burly knight in seconds. However, the peak power of a monster hunter is only truly unleashed when he utilizes potions and decoctions. Before every life or death battle with hideous creatures, such as when facing a Striga or a Kikimora, Geralt always drinks specially brewed elixirs. These highly toxic substances are poison to normal humans, but to Geralt's mutated body, they act as catalysts that enhance his physical strength to its absolute limit. When the potions take effect, viewers witness a terrifying sight on screen. All the veins on Geralt's face bulge with a gruesome black hue, and his serpent eyes turn completely dark, transforming him into a true engine of destruction on the battlefield. Alongside his peerless physique, Geralt also possesses the Witcher's ancient magic, also known as signs, Although he is not an all-powerful mage capable of manipulating space like Yennefer, these versatile combat signs are highly effective survival tools. Geralt can cast Add to discharge a powerful telekinetic shockwave, knocking back a squad of armed soldiers or repelling giant monsters. He can use Igni to unleash a stream of fire that incinerates targets in the blink of an eye, or erect Quen, an invisible magical shield, to absorb all incoming damage from enemy attacks. To deal with monsters that move at breakneck speeds, Geralt sets up Erden, a magical trap that slows down anything within its area. And finally, there is Axii, a sign that hypnotizes the mind, which Geralt has used subtly to calm the werewolf, Otto, or soothe enraged beasts before approaching them. But no matter how powerful the signs or potions are, the ultimate weapon that defines the White Wolf's reputation remains his supreme medieval swordsmanship. Geralt always carries two iconic swords on his back, representing two completely different missions. The meticulously forged steel sword is meant for humans, or rather, to punish those with monstrous hearts, corrupt nobles, or cruel mercenaries. And the other sword, the sacred treasure of every witcher, is the silver sword, crafted from pure silver ore. This is the only weapon capable of burning and slaying supernatural, mythical creatures, from bloodthirsty wyverns and 10-clawed Eshnus to the flesh monster, a hideous entity stitched together from human corpses. When these two swords leave their scabbards, that is when the perfect biological machine, Geralt of Rivia, begins a banquet of blood and death across the cruel continent. Even though Geralt always established a rule to remain detached, trying to keep himself out of human factional disputes, a cruel destiny had its own way of binding him to the fate of the entire continent. The greatest turning point that transformed the lonely hunter into a responsible father figure began with an ancient custom called the Law of Surprise. It goes back about 13 years before the fall of the kingdom of Sintra, when Geralt accompanied the bard Jaskier to a royal banquet hosted by Queen Calanthe. There, he accidentally saved the life of Duny, a knight cursed to look like a hedgehog. To repay him for saving his life, Duny offered to grant Geralt any reward he desired. In a moment of whim, the White Wolf invoked the Law of Surprise, declaring, "Give me that which you already possess, but do not yet know." Immediately following that declaration, Princess Pavetta unexpectedly vomited, revealing that she was pregnant with their child. From then on, a sacred and irreversible destiny tightly bound the life of the white-haired witcher to that unborn child, who would later become Princess Cirilla, also known as Ciri. To fully convey this intricate, interwoven narrative, the first season of The Witcher utilized a highly daring, non-linear storytelling structure, inspired by the war film Dunkirk, directed by Christopher Nolan. Showrunner Lauren Schmidt-Hissrich completely upended the timeline, leaving many viewers confused initially. While the origin story of the sorceress Yennefer spanned over 70 years of history, and Geralt's monster hunting travels took place scattered across several decades, Ciri's entire ordeal unfolded in just a brief 2 weeks. The core chronological anchor for viewers to hold on to was the year 1263, the moment the Nilfgaardian Empire launched its forces to massacre the kingdom of Sintra, forcing Queen Calanthe to commit suicide. On that night, when the palace drowned in a sea of blood, Ciri luckily escaped and began a solitary journey through dark forests to find Geralt, the destined protector of her life. All the tangled paths of the three timelines finally converged at a single point following the brutal battle of the mages at Sodden Hill. The arrangement of fate brought Geralt and Ciri together in the deep woods. The moment the little princess rushed into the sturdy embrace of the rugged Witcher perfectly realized the grim prophecy Princess Renfreenfree had left for Geralt in Blaviken. The girl in the woods will always be with you. From that sacred moment on, the show's narrative officially merged into a single linear progression. Moving into Season 2 and Season 3, audiences witnessed a profound shift in Geralt's inner self. He was no longer a lonely bounty hunter indifferent to the world, caring only about gold coins and monster heads. Geralt accepted shedding his cold exterior to embrace the calling of a father and a teacher. He brought Ciri back to the fortress of Kaer Morhen, personally training her in every sword stance, footwork, and the strictest survival skills of a witcher. Geralt's journey now became a grueling battle to shield the child of destiny from the prying eyes and hunts of all the brutal factions on the continent. The White Wolf had to square off against Rience, a ruthless fire mage willing to use any dark magical method to kidnap Ciri. Not only that, he also had to risk his life to protect her from insidious political plots and relentless hunts by spies from the northern kingdoms and the Nilfgaardian army alike. To Geralt, Ciri was no longer just an obligatory duty under the law of surprise. She had become family, the sole reason for a mutated entity like him to keep fighting and preserve his remaining humanity amidst a collapsing world. Despite the monumental success and the massive fan base built up by the first 2 seasons, a piece of shocking news broke right before Season 3 wrapped up. Actor Henry Cavill was officially stepping down from the role of Geralt of Rivia. This decision immediately sent shockwaves through the media because everyone knew the Man of Steel star was a genuine gamer and an avid fan of the source material. He had dedicated an immense amount of heart and effort into researching medieval sword stances, the voice, and the movements of the White Wolf to deliver a stellar performance that stayed truest to the novels. But the final straw came when Netflix's writing team continuously altered the script, producing bizarre creative choices that drifted far from the original plot. The peak of public outrage came with a shocking revelation from former writer Beau DeMaio, who exposed that some individuals in the Netflix writer's room did not even like and would actively mock Andrzej Sapkowski's book series. For Henry Cavill, this completely trampled upon his reverence for this Eastern European cultural heritage. Right from the press tour for Season 2, the actor did not hesitate to publicly express his frustration over having to strain and exhaust himself trying to balance the distorted vision of the showrunners with his own love for the source material. He left not because of a busy schedule, but out of an ultimate respect for the character of Geralt of Rivia, choosing to let go rather than watch the icon of the White Wolf be ruined by careless filmmakers. And then, the inevitable happened. Liam Hemsworth's replacement in Season 4, which premiered at the end of October 2025, turned the series into one of the worst disasters in Netflix history. Just 2 days after its release, the show faced a massive wave of fury and fierce criticism from both audiences and professional critics alike. The Tomatometer score on Rotten Tomatoes was dragged down into rotten territory, while the audience score hit rock bottom for the entire series, hovering at a meager 18 to 25%. On the IMDb platform, episodes of Season 4 were continuously rated with dismal scores of 4 and 5, a tragic regression from the golden 8-10 average of the first season. International commentators pulled no punches either, mocking that while Henry Cavill delivered a rugged, mysterious, and deeply lovable Geralt, Liam Hemsworth's new Geralt looked as uninspired as a walking pole wearing a wig. It was an unsalvageable mess that completely lost the soul and the gritty essence of the legendary monster hunter, turning a fantasy universe once expected to rival Game of Thrones into one of the biggest jokes in the history of television adaptations. Looking back at the long road traveled, the journey of the Witcher universe under Netflix is gradually nearing its conclusion. In Season 5, with boundless regret, no matter how the adaptation disasters or behind-the-scenes script controversies continue to unfold, to the true fan community, the image of a lonely, gritty, rugged, white wolf Geralt who hides a warm heart, portrayed by Henry Cavill, remains an immortal monument that can never be replaced on screen. If you also love the White Wolf's journey of hunting monsters and protecting destiny, and absolutely detest the way the Netflix writing team ruined the original novels, please hit like, share, and subscribe to the SciFiNexus channel today so you won't miss our next epic character profiles. In your opinion, if the writing team had truly respected the source material, could The Witcher have become an epic legend on par with the scale of Game of Thrones? And do you accept Liam Hemsworth as the new Geralt in the upcoming parts, or do you firmly hold on to the principle, no Henry Cavill, no Witcher? Leave your thoughts right in the comment section below so we can discuss. Goodbye, and see you in the next in-depth analysis videos.